One of the most pressing issues for authorities now is providing support for trauma victims. Professor Edward Blakely has spent the past 4 decades leading disaster recovery teams in the United States and around the world. He's visiting Australia and I spoke to him late today. Professor Blakely, do you empathise with the people of Christchurch and understand what they'd be going through right now?
I most certainly do. I've been through 3 earthquakes, San Francisco, Oakland, and Los Angeles, and they're really traumatic. And the trauma is going to go on for some time. It's not just a matter of losing your home and things like this and losing your loved ones. You just can't imagine the city coming back together the way it was before. They've lost a lot of structures, a lot of memories are gone. It's going to be very hard for people to get their lives back together, because when they look around, the things that were familiar just aren't there.
So as one who's experienced this, what are the various stages of emotion and trauma they're going to go through in the days and weeks and months ahead?
Well, the first one is anger, unfortunately. People are angry that nobody noticed them, the warnings didn't come through, that they weren't prepared, buildings they thought were safe turned out not to be safe. So there's going to be a lot of anger, and I think people in political life have to be prepared to receive a lot of anger. And then, of course, there's grief, a good long period of grief. I can remember at 9/11, I stepped on the train platform, and people that I used to have football tipping with weren't there. And I just started crying. And then there's a period of, well, let's just get our act together. Let's try to survive. And people want to volunteer then, they want to do bake sales, they want to do things. And I would say to public officials, please let them do them. Don't stand in the way, facilitate that. That is a very important aspect of healing. And then, of course, there's the recovery period, which lasts a long time. Some people simply go into mourning, and that mourning can go on. People in New Orleans are still in mourning. And it's a good thing they have the bands and things like this that come out on the streets, and people will be parading around in tears because familiar things are gone. So that'll take a few years. And then there's some people who have psychological problems, unfortunately. Let's be honest here. There are going to be children every time a car backfires are going to jump under the table, and that will go on for some time.
Do you think that there will be people, perhaps quite a lot of people, who simply can't cope and want to get out?
Well, in New Orleans, we've only gotten 30% of the population back. I think certainly it'll be a higher number in Christchurch, but you have to look at about half the people trying to make a decision as to whether they want to stay there or not, because if their personal lives haven't been interrupted, their neighborhood's disrupted.
Now, you've advised on a lot of the rebuilding processes after disasters in America. What do you think New Zealand authorities need to focus on?
Well, the first thing they have to focus on is what you call getting back to normal, providing water, providing electricity, providing the basics, and then giving people a lot of help about what they should do next. I have cautioned people should not just simply, because their house looks safe, walk into it and turn on the gas and the electricity, because there still may be some damage inside the walls and the like. So there needs to be a good volunteer corps that knows something about building safety, that goes into every single building before that building's occupied for any period of time. Because the last thing you need is a little mini disaster of someone turning on the gas and blowing up the entire neighborhood.
Is Christchurch a case of a city being built in the wrong place, and that bad urban planning over the years has made things much worse after this disaster?
Earthquakes are very different. You're always in the wrong place if you're building near an earthquake. So Christchurch and Los Angeles are in the same position in that regard. I would not say that. When you have a flood, then urban planning can make a huge difference. Building codes do make a difference, but a lot of Christchurch was very old, and those old buildings, many of them did not survive.
What do you think that you've learned? What lessons have you learned from disasters and earthquakes in the US that could be applied to Christchurch?
Well, the first lesson is for all of New Zealand. We should start looking at every building now and doing the reinforcement that California requires by law. Every house, Every commercial structure has to be reinforced for level 6 earthquake, and so it can ride out that earthquake. Every bridge, everything has to be organized for earthquake across New Zealand. The second thing is decentralize. Having central power systems, central water systems, means in any interruption, the entire organization goes down. Go the Japanese route. Have decentralized power, decentralized electricity, decentralized water so that you can survive an earthquake. And finally, citizens should be prepared. Citizens are now looking for their loved ones. You have to have a personal plan. Where are you going to be in a disaster? In New Orleans and in California, people carry their personal plans with them every day.
Professor Blakely, thank you very much for taking the time to join us.
Thank you.